Stay right there. What are you waiting for? Kill him! Kill them both! No, wait a minute. Is it money you're after? I'll give you as much as you want.
May the saints forgive you, because I won't.
Okay, Scott, I think it'll be a really cool conversation. We'll just free range it, and I'll let you introduce all your work and anything you want to plug. And I know you have a new book of poetry coming out pretty soon. Maybe not soon to date of record, but it'll be closer when the episode drops. So please plug that as well. And just, give everyone a taste of like who you are, just in case they don't know.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. My name's Scott Laudati. I was a writer primarily. I guess I still am, but I branched out into painting. And I've always had bands that I've never been able to keep together, but every couple of years I'm able to record an album. I'll actually be dropping an album at the same time as this book comes out. The book is called Rainbow Road. It has nothing to do with the Mario game. It's an old Chris Christopherson song. It's my favorite song ever. I think the lyrics of that song encapsulate everything I've done as an artist, from starting off and being really positive and getting some initial praise right off the bat, and then languishing for years and never gaining any more momentum or really more readers. I sort of just plateaued, I think, in 2012, and I think at that same exact level now. So the song is about a person who goes through this, and by the end of their life they're committing crime and dreaming about the artistic life they thought they were gonna have. And now at 40 years old and getting really close to the finish line many times, even getting a script optioned with Paramount and having nothing happen. I don't know. I feel like I'm cursed, or it's just never going to happen or something. So that's along this way, I've branched off into other art forms because I feel like you have to be good at literally everything to get any attention. You have to be able to record music, record audio, make videos. Now I've sold out to YouTube. Now I'm making YouTube videos every 3 days about these trips I take to read poems or show my art places. I'm trying to create as much content as I possibly can every single day to stay barely relevant in this flood of just never ending people coming and going, showing their art for a while, disappearing. They buy your book, they like it, then they disappear and you never hear from them again. So it's not like you've even retained a fan or reader. It's just an endless marathon. That's what the song Rainbow Road's about. That's what my book Rainbow Road, coming June 25th, full of all new poems, is about. I think that's what my whole life has been about.
Well, I definitely understand. You put things out there and you hope that it will take, but it's always a bit of a gamble.
Well, and I think part of it too is when I moved to New York, the initial wave of alt lit was really in and happening, and Vice magazine had just moved to Brooklyn, and there was a scene building up out in Bushwick, with some of those writers, and they were tons of people my age trying to start magazines or get involved with that scene. And I just always thought like writing quality would get me somewhere. So I like always have been really apprehensive to get involved with any scene because as you know, they always end up with allegations against each other and then the scene collapses and everybody turns on each other. And I never wanted to be brought down with any ship like that. But I also think that's really kind of hurt me now in my older age because I never really had like a gang or like a team to do a lot of this stuff with. And sometimes it's beneficial, but I think I get passed over for a lot of opportunities because I didn't attach myself to any writing style or like cool lit magazine that was happening at the time. I don't know. It's always when I grew up, I was like a loser and made fun of a lot. And I've always kind of then been like, all right, well, I have to do this myself. I have to like, I don't know, run it my way, sort of. So I don't get, I don't know, I don't put myself out there to get made fun of or get let down by other people. So I think that all has actually been a detriment to my longevity as a writer.
Well, 2 points to that, and it's not a counterpoint to you, Scott, but first of all, I've had a decent amount of writers, alt-lit and otherwise, poets as well, on the show, and I think they would all pretty much say that about their writing careers is that yeah, you have to have like real life people with you and behind you, but also that they don't. So, and then also the occult community sounds very much like how literary circles tend to grow and then collapse. You definitely have a kind of expand times of expansion and constriction. And I'm also a loner. I wasn't a loser, but I definitely have been a loner my whole life. So for me, it's actually quite hard to sort of engage externally with creative projects. I'm trying, working on it. And yeah, so I think it's just like that's why I started podcasting. I was like, this will be a great thing because I'm so reserved in real life. And you know, it'll expand my sphere of influence a little bit.
Sure. I mean, the one thing that I did do is so I put most of my books out on Bone Machine is the label, and I've completely taken over the reins of Bone Machine. Like, it was started by two guys I went to college with. They were gonna like start a skateboard magazine, and then I put my first book out with them, and they didn't really do anything, and then they were just gonna fold. So I was like, oh, let me take this over because I've already been sort of paying money for stickers and stuff like that. So I have like my friend Tom Young, who he's kind of burned out too. And I put out a book for my friend Damian Rucci. His book's called Last of the Hardcore. So I have like a small team of people that I like have known for years and really trust. And I don't know. I would like to expand that, but literally every single time we bring somebody else in, it's it doesn't work. It's bad. And then people start, I don't know, demanding money and trying to like steal you send them a PDF of their book and they steal all the artwork and then they take it with them to another publishing place. So our team is really small, but it is a good team. These are my brothers and I love them. This is probably pretty corny, but like I I always say Green Day is my favorite band. I haven't been a fan of Green Day in like 25 years, but like for a band to be able to stay together for 40 years with the same three people and like still at least look like they like each other and are having a good time together is amazing. And like growing up listening to punk rock, like all I ever wanted was like a couple best friends or like, you know, a small group to like go through this life with. And that's really like one of the only things I haven't really been able to achieve. It's really kind of a bummer. But when I find people who are cool and good, it's rare, but I try to like keep them in my I don't like them to orbit away from me. I try to keep them in with me as long as possible.
Agree
Everybody to
with
be my
that.
best friend. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I don't want everyone. I just want, you know, the ones I like. So, but I understand 100%. And I agree. So let me ask you a writing question. It's not really a writing show, but kind of. I mean, as I always cite, like Austin Osman Spare, both a writer and a magician. So there's that's you know, I'm not saying that you are, Scott. I'm just you know positing that maybe there is a relationship between those two titles. So when you write music, do you find your process different than when you write poetry or screenplay?
Yeah, so I don't find the process really any different at all with songwriting or poetry. Like I usually start with the lyrics or a line and kind of build a song around that. I did write the screenplay for my novel Play the
Okay.
Devil. That's what they brought me out to California to do. And that process was completely different because I was so nervous and I was like, "Oh my god, this is the opportunity. This is the only one I'm ever going to get." I just hoarded a whole bunch of Adderall and then went to California already with like most of that script written before I got there because I was like so nervous about going there and not being able to think of anything. So I just holed up there, did Adderall all day for like 4 days, and I got most of the script done in literally like 72 hours. So the process, I guess, of all those things was completely different.
Would you say that your process is always so gonzo? Like, I mean, do you tend to very intensive, a lot of production, or do you usually is it more mixed?
No, it's pretty. I do every single day. I do make something. I work on a painting or a print or work on poetry or editing a story or something. Like I'm pretty good about that. Like I don't need to go on to a writing retreat or like take a vacation. Like I've always been really disciplined. I just always knew that like having a job was going to be the worst thing ever. And if like this was my one opportunity to not have to work. So that was installed in me when I was very young, 14 or 15. And it's been like that almost the whole way. Like even in my bands, everybody would smoke weed. We'd like play half of a song or like write something and everybody would smoke and everybody be sitting around being like, "Oh cool, we did so much." And I was like, I was never like that. Like I was always the one being like, "No, we have to do everything we can right now because we're going to ruin our lives if we don't succeed."
I like that, that's very type A personality. I appreciate that. Um, but I want to ask you about painting. Do you find
Sure.
that that is mutually like, does that inform how you write? Does like the color theory, color ideas, like, do you associate those with words? Do you have any kind of patterning that you do? Is it like writing but using a different medium or not? Like, I don't know. You can tell me.
Okay, for me it's nothing like writing. It is like
Okay.
pure enjoyment. Like you can be drunk, you can do whatever, you can have a podcast on, you can be watching YouTube and painting is fun and it looks nice and you're done with a painting. I mean, even a short story takes days or weeks. Like a painting sometimes is long, but it looks good almost the entire time. And you can keep stepping back and being like, "This looks good." And your girlfriend walks by and she'll be like, "Oh, that looks good." Like I guess other people are in relationships where they have their spouse or their couple like read their work. I've never done that to people because I know how like excruciatingly painful that would be. Um, and I don't know. So like at least like writing is work for me. Like it's like real work. I don't find it enjoyable at all. Like it's just something that was the thing that I feel like I was meant to do. And like I like the end product, and when it's done and somebody says they like it, or I see my name in print with the story, and I'm like, okay, I wrote a good story. But painting is just enjoyable from start to finish.
I also appreciate that, Scott, because I'm not a writer per se, but I definitely dabble a little in poetry and but I also do other things. Like I have other creative outlets, like more, like material production. So I have to agree with you. Like writing can be very much not enjoyable. Although I think poetry for me, I do like writing poetry, but it can be also very. I mean, depends. Like I get very neurotic, and I'm like, oh, I like this 1 minute, and then the next minute I'll hate it. So
I'm the same way. I also don't understand how people are just kind of like one and done. Like they sit down and write it and then they are done with it. Like I agonize over everything I write word by word. I mean, there's poems in this book that like I've probably rewritten every single word of the poem like dozens of times. Like I've never been a person who it came easy for, or I'm like, okay, it's good enough. Like with writing, hopefully this will outlive me. So I want to really, I never say it's good enough with writing. With painting, you can kind of say, oh, it's good enough. Like it looks pretty sick. But With writing, you really want it to be perfect. At least
Yeah,
for me.
that completely makes sense because the words are the sole hermeneutic on the page. So it has to be kind of perfect, but the painting has more layers.
Yeah, which it's funny though, because in the world we live in now with screens and everything, it's like getting eyes on your writing is virtually impossible, but like looking is still relatively easy for people. So they like will look at your art or your painting even as they scroll by and be like, oh, that's cool. Or like, oh, I'd like to buy that. You don't ask anything of them.
No, that is true. That is true. Like especially online lit is very saturated with talented people and some lesser talented people. But no, you're right. And like people don't really read the word. They're not as interested in those like that challenge, I guess. I don't find it
No.
challenging, but I love
Well,
reading, so for me it's fine.
yeah, well, it seems like online lit more. It's like, oh, this is my friend's online magazine. They're gonna publish all their friends, and all their friends are gonna all be like, "This is the best thing I ever read." If you're starting off, is great because, like, when I was starting off doing this, we didn't. You were still mailing in your poems to. You could like literally mail your poems to the New Yorker, and they would respond with like a personal rejection letter. So it's all different now, and back then I was kind of just like floundering on my own. It is cool if you're starting off to have these communities like this because really encouragement is what you need. I think anybody could be good at anything if they don't stop and they work hard. So like if you're doing this and you're getting no feedback or like nothing's getting published, then you'll probably quit. But if you meet a whole bunch of people from your online magazine and everybody's like, this is good, keep going, then you keep going, eventually you are going to write something really good. Probably it's just like all your bad stuff is still going to be out there in existence too, which I luckily got to skip. I love going to these Midwest cities. Like most of the times you'll see, unfortunately, that the populations are all really old, and they're really old people raising really young grandkids because everybody in between got wiped out by oxys. um but a lot of these poets are recovering addicts, people who have been like really hurt by the government and the pharmaceutical industry, and have now through rehab or by the grace of God surviving it, like have turned to art because there's literally nothing else in these cities. Like the minor league baseball teams have been moved out. There's kind of COVID wiped out all the bars and clubs, so they've a lot of them have turned to poetry. And there's a lot of good, interesting poetry coming out from them because they have stories to tell that most people don't have. It's really a uniquely American experience, but it's also like a uniquely poor American experience. I mean, they got ravaged in a different way that like I had a lot of friends die of oxys and stuff in New Jersey, but it like I mean their whole economy, their whole middle age people got disappeared, demolished. So anyway, they're all very receptive to poetry. And when you do these shows in the Midwest, lots of people turn out. It's never like four or five, it's a whole crew of people who are trying to build something in their city with no money, no help, usually from the very conservative government that's in control of allocating funds. Um, yeah, so I found that going out there is always beneficial, and you always make a lot of friends, and they're all great storytellers. Really, the more uneducated I think that I find a lot of these people, the better their storytelling ability is. It's like old Appalachian folk, like it's in their genes, and it's a way that people like out here would have to learn how to do. They just have a way of weaving stories out there that's really unique. It's fascinating.
Well, then I guess that's a sort of segue into asking you, have you had any ghost experiences slash Bigfoot experiences, which I'm totally open to you discussing, completely open. Like you can be as free range as you want to be, Scott. Like,
no, this is perfect because I just had my first ghost experience last August, I think. Yeah. I was on my way to a show in Chicago, and I was staying at the Hyatt by the airport in Indianapolis. I was like one day out, and I had a friend, Caleb Caldwell. He's another writer on here. You might know him. He came to my. He's from Indianapolis, so he's hosted us at other shows we've done in Indianapolis. So I'm staying at this hotel by the airport, and it's really swampy and gross by the airport. Like the roads underwater, even though it hadn't rained in forever, there's still like frogs sitting in the street. Really stinky area, and weird vibe. So he comes over. We have a couple beers, not anywhere near enough where I'd be like hallucinating ghosts. It was like 3 beers. And then he leaves. So it's like 11 o'clock at night. I always try and go to, whenever I work out or sleep, I put like Fox News or conservative radio or conservative podcasts on. There's just something about like the general outrage and anger that I find really like therapeutic to like fall asleep to or exercise to. So I'm watching the Laura Ingraham hour rerun. It's like 11 o'clock, I guess. And I'm laying face down. And all of a sudden I see this, like, I thought it was a man in my closet. And it was not sleep paralysis because I was like watching the TV and I could see the time changing in the corner. And I saw this thing and I was like, okay, I can't move. I can't move. And then I realized at some point that it knew that I knew that I was like awake and like this thing could see me. So as soon as like I mentally realized that he knew that I was awake, like I went to roll over and he charged out of the closet and like held me down, but never touched me. And then at some point I realized that it wasn't a man. It was a big shadow fake. It was a shadow man. Like there were no eyes or mouth, but it was like a big, huge black form holding me. And I knew that it wanted to hurt me. Like I could feel its hatred. I don't know. I was like mentally, I was like blocking it and fighting it with my mind. And I was like, I can't blink. I can't let anything else into my head. I'm like fighting this thing with my mind. And then finally I broke through. It ran back to the closet. I rolled over my back. And then of course I hopped up, turned all the lights on in the hotel room, and there was nothing there. But there was definitely a ghost or a demon or whatever in the closet.
Okay, that's crazy. So, did you believe in ghosts before this happened?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess, but not like, I mean, I've been in like graveyards and stuff like that at night. Like I was never like, oh, ghosts, I was never worried
Mhm.
about being in a haunted house.
I hear you. I mean, I'm not scared of ghosts either. I'm just there's a theory that perhaps like the American like how Americans love like supernaturalism, supernatural television, like ghost stories, or even like meme like copy pasta, like the Slender Man or any of that shit.
Yeah.
That sort of is it sort of fills out the missing sort of these gaps in this like kind of very bland, like kind of Protestant sort of like landscape of that should be richer and more full of like supernatural ideas, but it's kind of like it's baseline Christianity, we'll say.
No, actually, that makes a lot of sense because I know like the Japanese have like hundreds of like little, I don't know, fairies or like goblin things that explain like the pencil is missing. Like that's like the pencil disappearing ghost, or that thing in the woods. Like, and I think like I don't know. I know the Scandinavians have a lot of stuff like that too. We really don't have it. Like, I mean, we have Bigfoot, but that's kind of like juvenile, I think, like that's just like the catch-all sort of for everything.
So my idea is that like spirits or those things sort of appear partly based on our perception rather than solely existing 100% externally. Like, yeah, sure, there's part of it that is external. Something is about of us. So like if a lot of people see Bigfoot, maybe that's also like a reflection of how Americans see themselves.
Well, for starters, when I checked out, I was in room 205. I was like, I stayed in room. First, I went on TripAdvisor and I looked to see if anybody had been like, "Don't stay in this hotel; it's haunted." Um, and then I went to the front desk when I was checking out. I was like, "Has anybody ever like said anything weird happened in my room?" And the manager was standing right next to a girl in training. The girl in training was like, "Oh, wasn't that the room?" And the manager was like, "No, that was not the room." And then like deaded the conversation. So somebody else had reported something happening at this room at some point.
Totally.
Yeah.
No, I believe in spirits. Like I'm sorry, I didn't mean to imply that I didn't. The way they interact with us is often based on how little fear we show in our interaction with them.
Okay. So but you're like, if you're in a house, let's say, and you're like, everybody is like, oh, we had a ghost, or like my friend's house has a ghost. Like, if you're nice to the ghost, or you like at least are
Cool.
not
You're
running
cool.
screaming. Yeah.
Right. You're kind
Yeah.
of neutral.
Okay.
Like
But
very
should you ever
neutral.
talk to them, or no? You just be neutral.
I would personally be neutral. I would almost like I can compartmentalize though, like nobody. So
Okay.
like I would just say, "Oh, you don't exist." I would tell myself, even though I believe in it, I might even see it. I would just be like, "You don't exist."
Okay.
It's a
Well,
very
why would you
charismatic
do that
thing.
instead of being like, hey, like, I'm your friend. Like, what is
You could do that too. You could do that too. That's also an option. That would be like the more like hippie California Buddhist way. Would be
okay.
like, okay, I'm gonna offer you like 3 sticks of incense and like, maybe some, I don't know, whiskey or something. But like I personally would not offer alcohol, but anyways, it doesn't matter. The point is like, yeah, you absolutely could make friends or write relations with a ghost that if you live in a house, you should. But then there's also the idea, like, if you go somewhere, you don't want things to come
Attach
back with you.
themselves. Yeah.
Right.
So,
So
okay, that's what you leave yourself open then, if like they know that you're somebody who will be talking to them or whatever, they'll follow you. I was raised really Catholic, so
yeah,
like,
me too.
okay, yeah. So like my grandma and stuff like that would be a little, you would never talk about this, but there's also like the weird demon end of everything, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that was kind of my fear with this, is like, because of course the next night when I was at the reading and then I was at the bar telling everybody the story, every single person, no, you should have talked to him. No, you should, like, how did you know it was mean? Like, oh, I've seen a shadow person before. And I was like, shut up. Like, none of you have ever like, you all got attacked by a ghost. Give me a break. But like, also, I was like, I don't want to acknowledge this thing at all. Like, the last thing I want to do is open that portal. Like, I have no interest in being friends with a ghost. That was terrifying. I didn't even go to sleep again that night. Like, I don't want anybody from the other worlds to come talk to me.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel, Scott. Like that encapsulates exactly it. That's what I was trying to express, maybe in like a longer form word cell meandering way, but absolutely, that is how I feel. Like I'm fine that they exist, but I don't need I don't need to know that they exist. Like they can exist away from me. So
I've had two separate fortune telling, like, tarot card readings in my life. One was at my, like, an 8th grade dance. One of the teachers was doing, like, I can't remember if it was tarot cards or if it was like fortune telling. But then later on, I went to like one of those shacks on the side of the highway where there's like a gypsy woman fortune teller person, and both of those people told me that I was one of those people that could do this and talk to like people in the after, like the other worlds, if I wanted to be. Both of them said almost verbatim that.
well, it does make sense to me. I'm gonna tell you why. Is because poets, well, the idea is that poets perhaps draw words from the conceptual graveyard, like where the words go to die. So when you're drawing words from there, you're also like interacting with the quote unquote ghost worlds.
Okay,
Just an
I
idea.
can 100% see that, because oftentimes I feel like when I'm writing, it's almost like I get scared that I'm never gonna be able to do it again, because I don't remember how I did it in the first place. It's like you almost sort of black out, I guess, and then have something after a while, and I can never trace the map back to like how I got to that place mentally, or like how I sat down and came up with these words. So that I would could buy into that. You do channel something, not all the time, but sometimes, definitely.
And like, for the record, I'm not saying channel a spirit. I'm saying simply channel the word or the words, plural. And then that's sort of, you could say it's a muse or something like that. I just tend to use like a more anti-supernaturalist approach because I just feel like it's 2026. Like, I am not my, French Canadian grandmother. I'm, just like an aging hipster millennial. So
Uh-huh.
for me, that guy just used the sort of frameworks of consciousness model, which is where you describe things in a more modern way. But I'm not against necessarily saying it's like a spirit, but I prefer to say it's like channeling the words. Just personally, maybe I'm a little ghost averse from my Catholic childhood, but
Yeah. Well, have you had an experience like that?
Oh, I've had lots of insane experiences.
Okay.
Not like lots and lots, but okay. So in my early 20s, I used to play with like the greater and the lesser keys of Solomon. So I've had evocation experiences. I've had ghost experiences. I've had other kinds of experiences. But really, Scott, fundamentally, my best experiences were like well, actually, I'll tell you a story about if you want. I mean,
Yeah, no, let's hear it. I want to hear it.
Okay. So I've actually never told this story anywhere. So this will be totally like exclusive to this episode, 2018. And I was like, I was struggling. I'm not gonna lie. And of course, I was like a sorcerer, magician, occultist, whatever. I was trying to also like I was doing Buddhism at the same time, but my practice was very thin, we'll call it shallow. So I had a insane dream that wasn't a dream, and it was like one of those nights where I had like been up all night, couldn't really sleep, was pacing, smoking. It was like all the stress had gotten to me. And I finally fell asleep like probably around 3 o'clock, 3:30, we'll say, we'll give it a magic number. And it might have been though. And I when I was dreaming, like silver, kind of silver, like not silver as in silver, but like opal, like the color of opal, but a little more silver than that, like oil, kind of like the oil slick, but it was not black. This figure who had like wings, I knew exactly who it was right away. Like, he's wrathful, meaning that he appears in the world very ferocious to help remove obstacles. But he sat on the edge of my bed, and then I actually physically woke up, and it was still there, and I could feel the weight towards my feet. And he said to me, he said, "You need to put all the magic shit away."
Wow.
Yeah. And literally the next day, I think I even got up then because I was so freaked out. And I packed up everything that I had like spent years learning how to do, all these seals, all these like ritual tools. I just packed it all up and was like, yeah, I'm going to just focus on Buddhism.
Wow.
So that's basically the story.
That is terrifying.
I mean, it was scary, but I had crazier, like, it felt like it was like a presence like that was trying to like be like a fraternal, like telling you,
right?
Not, it wasn't fatherly, like you must do this. It was like someone, so I never have had like an addiction issue or anything like that, but I've been close with people who have. So it's kind of like telling someone that's your peer, like, you better get your shit together.
Okay.
But you're doing it out of love rather than out of like fear. That's exactly how I felt.
Okay, I took it as like if you continue this, like,
well, that's
down
also
dark
true.
Road. Yeah,
that's true. That was also true.
Okay.
It was both. Wow. It was like warning. It was like a total intervention coach moment.
Yeah. So are you one of those people who can like kind of, I don't want to say like a medium, but can you like flip a switch and see this other stuff?
No. So for me, so it's interesting because I've always been very antagonistic to that. There's a lot of occult podcasters, a lot of people in the sort of like greater magic sphere, we'll call it, or American occult community, who will say those things. And I've always made sure to position myself like against that.
Well, I meet a lot of like older white lady shamans. I'm like quote unquote shamans who all say things like that. And I just always roll my eyes. I'm like, come on.
See, that's where I'm at too. But women are more sensitive. So that
Yeah.
is like a thing too. Like women just are naturally, they have like their womb, right? A womb is kind of empty. It's like a space where something can exist. So there's an idea perhaps that because of that, women are more naturally in tune with what we cannot see, the unseen, the invisible, or the empty. But I'm not saying
Okay.
empty as in nothingness. I'm saying just the emptiness that exists in space. Like sort of like the vibes, the currents, the spirits, the angels, the demons, the goetics, whatever you want to call it. Like all the craziness of the multiverse.
I've met somebody in like every field, or I don't know what to call it a field, but like you're the first one of these that I've ever met. So this is really interesting.
Okay, well, I'm glad. I'm glad you're not, scared off or like, what did I sign up to do? Like, who did I sign up to talk to? No, I appreciate that.
No, I've
Um,
always kind of been interested in this stuff because it's like the world is so boring, man. It's so boring. So like anything like this that's like there's not a defined answer or whatever is cool, you know, like and I've always kind of, even in church or whatever growing up, I always knew there was like an evil end, and not an evil, oh yeah, an evil end, but like it doesn't have to. Now I'm older and I realize there's nuance, but I always knew there was something else happening. Like, you know, and there was no words for it. Nobody around me knew anything. They were all just sheep at Catholic mass, not thinking about anything. But this is something that's always been in me for sure.
in my opinion, I think that people who are artists are natural conduits to sort of, and they're at least receptive to the ideas. They're like you're saying, you're able to sort of hold the speculative ideas. You don't necessarily need it to be concretized, but maybe you would also like the experiential wisdom, like to actually experience the things for yourself. I know I'm very much like that. Like I don't
Yeah.
like to hear about what people think that they're experiencing. I would rather like come from it from my own experience and then be like, oh, this is similar, or this is different.
Well, I was shocked by like the responses to this because I mean, I know people who always have some kind of calamity happening or some crazy thing. And like, I'm not really one of those people. I'm usually like observing crazy things happen. So the amount of people that were like, oh, you must have been asleep, or like, oh, this, like, and just nothing continuing from like my story, I was kind of surprised by. I'm like, you're not at least a little curious about why in Indianapolis at 39 years old, a form ran out of the closet and tried to fight me? Like, doesn't that seem odd to you? You know, what do you think that thing was? Do you have any expert opinion on this?
For me, it sounds like somebody died in the hotel, maybe in that room. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Maybe it was a staff member who died and they came back to work. It could be, there's such a multitude of variation of ideas and beliefs. So for
Okay.
me specifically, so I'll give you a direct answer. So for me specifically, when we see a presence or a ghost like that, quote unquote, it is a piece of the person. It is not their totality or their fullness. It is like a shard or a shade. And so they will act in more extreme ways than they were as a person. Now, if someone is a very angry person in life, their shard is going to be a lot angrier. Ghosts tend to, I'm sure you've heard this phrase before, Scott, hungry ghosts. Ghosts in Buddhism are thought to sort of exist in this world where they cannot experience, they don't experience satisfaction. So they're always thirsty and they're always hungry. They're always unfulfilled. You can just take it as a metaphor for unfulfilled. So they actually degrade in consciousness, kind of like Alzheimer's in a way. They degrade from being like closer to something approximating a shadow of who they were to actually becoming a lot like a quote unquote evil spirit. And this happens over time. And this also happens in interaction. So I personally think that you did everything right. Like if you felt like you were going to be harmed, push it away, and like with also your mind, but physically if you have to, and you like set boundaries. So for me, that you dealt with it perfectly. I don't know exactly what it is, but I do know that spirits exist everywhere. There's an idea that having a lot of concrete on the ground in Indianapolis, which is a very, it's like a true Rust Belt city. There's a lot
It,
of like empty spaces, empty lots.
Yes,
roads.
and you could feel the desolation and like you could really feel the letdown there. That city more than most seems to be more kind of trashy and like not rehabilitated in any way.
So that is also increases. So the sort of like, if you've ever seen like a Japanese horror movie, they play with this idea a lot. The sort of collective consciousness or collective unconsciousness can not only give rise to spirits, meaning that things that aren't necessarily even human will arise from like the depression or from the sort of negative attitude of like the multitude, the mass, but also that it will increase the strength of spirits like that are formerly human or animal or whatever it is, or demons, that they actually make them stronger. So I think, and also like you've talked about, there is like Indianapolis has, or Indiana, I should say Indianapolis, but Indiana has tons of mounds. You know, all over the Midwest, the whole there, I mean, everywhere is a mound structure, right?
Yes.
It's like it doesn't end. And so I do think that that probably also increases it probably loosens the veil, to use like a Kenneth Grant term, but then it probably also densifies it. Like it's just so much heavier and so much more there. That doesn't mean people perceive it more, but it definitely means that it exists a lot closer to reality.
Okay.
I don't
Okay,
know.
cool.
Okay, I
Yeah.
don't know if does that sound good?
No, that sounds great. This probably doesn't have anything to do with that at all. But I worked in hotels, big luxury, celebrity-filled hotels for years, and the amount of people that show up to hotels to kill themselves is really crazy. Like, especially when I was working at the Standard in downtown LA, people would jump off this roof constantly, constantly, and or you'd get called up to a room, and there would be like two smoking hot models like sitting there, and one would be dead on the floor like OD'd, and her friend would just be sitting in the chair like completely apathetic and say and look at you and be like, she hasn't moved in 20 minutes, you know, and that would be it. Like there's something evil about hotels, man, especially with downtown LA. I think is the nexus of all evil. I think the Stand should have been set in downtown Los Angeles. There's every negative force on earth, I think, coalesced there. Uh, but then you have like obviously the celebrities and what they do to get and maintain their fame. But that hotel
No.
especially was like a beacon for suicide.
Well, it's interesting because downtown LA I do also think it's kind of evil. Ominous, yes. About the whole setting. It feels it's like desolate. It's very, the architecture is cool, but
It
the
is. That's the other
architecture,
thing. It's like the architecture around it is so beautiful and like gilded kind of, but like in that burnt LA sun way. Like you would think that you could see how in the 50s it was like, this is prosperity. This is the American dream. But it's sinister, man. I saw so many bad things when I was down there. It preys on the weakest, and you just see, I don't know, whatever. I could go on all day. But anyway, yeah, downtown LA is terrible.
well, I think it's an interesting idea though, and I'm fine if you want to go on about it, but like attracts like. So you're pulling in all this negative shit. It's gonna increase in its potentiality, and people who have that mindset will naturally be attracted to it, in my opinion.
It is weird though that these places like nobody. I worked in the Standard in here in New York City for years. I didn't see a single suicide, Like when I was in LA though, it was constant. Like you're right. Like obviously the negative energy is palpable, and it does. Well, it's like bridges, right? They have to like nets on bridges because everybody goes to the same bridge to jump off. Like, but why does that happen? Like, is it was it always going to be this way? Were they just waiting for the thing to be built?
Well, a bridge is a liminal space, right? So you could say that even a mundane bridge, so taking all the supernatural out, is a portal of a kind, or it's a portal or a gate waiting to be activated. So maybe you say the first suicide is sort of like the opening of the gate, and then
Whoa.
And then and then all the subsequent ones are kind of like it's like saying like, "Feed me, I'm hungry." It's
Right.
not like a thing, it's just like the energy of, like
Yeah. No, you're yeah. I don't know. It's almost like I don't know. I feel like downtown LA though demands a blood sacrifice every couple of days.
I think that because LA is very transient, I think, and that's also plays into the idea of hotels.
Yeah. Well, LA was the first place I've ever seen to like people come to New York to make it, but they come to New York to make it if their parents have money and they can like pay for their first and last month's rent, whatever. People go to LA with $40. Like
Yeah.
they're like, all right, I'm gonna get on the bus, I'm gonna land in LA, and I'm gonna get a TV show at the end of the week. And then you just see the Ralph's parking lots like full of 16 runaway Mormons, drug addict kids, like because anybody with a dream and $40 can get to LA. And for whatever reason, maybe New York back when it was a little more affordable was the same thing, but not in my lifetime, really. So LA was the first time I ever saw anything like that. It was dark, man.
Well, it's interesting because this goes to something that I've talked about a lot on the show. Like different localities have different kinds of energies, and like how do you pattern like what is the American sort of supernatural landscape? As we were saying, like Mormons are definitely a supernatural religion, but they don't
Right.
present it as like that. Like they're not teaching normal, like you were saying, normoid congregation members. They're not like, here's the secrets of Solomonic magic taught to you by Joseph Smith. And the same with Scientology. Like that's an inherently, maybe it's not magic, but it's definitely a supernaturalist, very supernaturalist religion, but they're not teaching like the normal people who go into Scientology, like, yeah, we believe in like all these different like states and what you believe that you attract. Like it's kind of that law of attraction. There's a lot of that in that and new thought. And it's all very theosophical at the end of the day. But yeah, there's something very occult about it. And so I think that that plays a role. Scientology is obviously big in LA, and then the Mormons are big in the West. But there's a vacuum. I think that's how I've described it, Scott. It's like traditional religion as we know it doesn't quite fill the void of people's supernatural experiences or their sort of understanding of the cosmology of it, like how
Th-
it appeared, like, what is
yeah, I
happening.
think I think that's kind of why. So I'm not religious anymore at all. Like I don't know. Like, and I know there's kind of a resurgence of Catholicism now, and like, I would really like to be a part of it, but I just like, I just don't believe in God. Like, I want to, but it doesn't really make sense to me at this point. Like my God that I was brought up to believe in. Um, but with that being said, I think what you like, I agree with what you're saying is that these questions were answered if you lived for 2 generations on Staten Island and your aunt lives across the street and you bought the house from your parents and now they live in a retirement home down the block and your whole block is the people you've known for 2 or 3 generations and you all go to the church and your kids go to the Catholic school and you play CYO basketball, like that does fulfill all your thing because you don't leave that. But now everybody has left the church, moved out. Nobody, like, we don't have the church to keep us grounded. We don't have the family backyard parties and barbecues every weekend. Like everybody is kind of like a pilgrim out there now on their own, searching for something that for because even like I'm Italian. So the people who my family who came over here to Staten Island also lived in the same village in Italy for probably 2,000 years before that. Like there was no curiosity really. Your whole world was there. It was all answered, and you had a family member who probably could represent almost everything you were ever curious about. And now, as a whole country, we've split up and fractured and moved and are looking for things that, and everybody's freaking out because these things that were solved forever, the roof's been blown off and nobody has any idea what to do.
That was a very literary and metaphor of the roof being blown off. But there's another way to describe it, which is like the aeon in flux, which is like we all are existing in a decoherent where ideologically decoherent. People's individual beliefs will become a lot more important. It will be a lot more about discernment rather than You're joining a unified mass, and like, yes, of course, there is a move to return to Roman Catholicism for sure, as well as a little bit of an upsurge in Orthodoxy and sort of like a reappraisal of like Christian traditions. But one thing that I've encountered, and I was naive to this before I even started podcasting, was a lot of these same people that are quote unquote returning to these very institutional, relatively orthodox faiths. They actually, a lot of them have done some metaphysical study either secretly or in small groups. And then they choose in those groups to sort of like join a tradition or a faith. Because it's impossible to look at Roman Catholicism without seeing the for me at least, the Rosicrucian elements, like the sort of mystical elements that were put back into the church at various times. And then obviously the Greek Orthodox bros, the Ortho bros, their whole system is metaphysics, but they guard it very carefully. So I think that that is part of it. I think it's not really a return to traditional religion. I think it's so people can have like the kind of sanctification of like these broader organizations, and then also they can, because to practice Agrippa, like to use an example that I know very well, which it's like a text of Solomonic magic. He was talking about you have to go to church every day or like 5 days a week. You have to sit in mass. You have to like pray the rosary. Maybe you do like the Ignatius of Loyola sort of like meditational exercises. So there is a faith component that like magic does not by itself fulfill. So I think that, I know this won't not be popular idea. Obviously, I'll offend like I have probably zero trad Catholic listeners, but I'm just saying the idea is that like they're returning to this not just for the sort of framework of the Catholic Church. They're actually returning to it for a sense of empowerment.
I would, without having any idea of anything you just said, I would completely agree with that last line. I would agree completely because it's not like, I mean, I can even make this like really simple for the layman like me. Like when I was growing up, you couldn't eat meat on Fridays, right?
Yes.
That was too hard for anybody to do. So then like we used to eat fish on Fridays. Now we got rid of all that. Now you were supposed to it was a mortal sin to miss mass and not confess before you went back to mass. That's all gone. Like now everybody just goes to church on Christmas and Easter. But it looks good for your family. You can Instagram. You're a trad wife. You've got a wonderful husband who provides for you. You've got 2 kids. Like that's really what Catholicism is now. Like it's not.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with anything. It's not like anybody is reading the Bible or anything. There's no sacrifice whatsoever.
No, it's a social organization to help further kind of like your like to at least appear community facing, I think. I know that's kind of insulting, but
Well, I would agree with it because I have people that I don't know, I would have never expected to have 2 children and then become religious. But you see them now and it's like, they're baking sourdough bread, they're getting the house ready for their husband to come home from work. It's like a whole, it's like it's a trad wife. It's just like a lame Instagram thing. And I think that's probably more what's going on than anything else.
well, they're not beat poets, Scott. They're not, they need they need a kind of structural sort of framework for like to give themselves meaning. And like people who are quote unquote poets, maybe those people are a little wilder and a little more free thinking. So that's also why I like interviewing people like you, because it's not necessarily that your lives are more free in a way, because we're all constrained in relative
Right.
degrees, but there is a kind of ability to be free thinking, at least in conversation or discourse.
Well, I also observing them think that like when I was younger, I was like, religion's the worst thing ever. Punk rock, like this whole idea of God is insane. Like everybody's a sheep. And now I live in a city where everybody has lost their minds and everything is it's just mayhem constantly. And I go on these tours, every single person I meet is poly or like or they're I don't know, they're trying something and they want everybody to come back and bang the girl in front of the husband and like I don't know. I feel like it was better when everybody was like at least performatively afraid of God. Like it just seems like total psycho mayhem anarchy out there across the country. I just
It
read that
have
1 in 4 girls is on OnlyFans. Like I don't even know if that's true, but I just read that. And judging from the people I meet, like I wouldn't even that number might be a little inflated, but I wouldn't be blown away if that was actually true.
I live a very conservative life in my own sort of way, my own bubble, you could say. But for me, if people want to live like that, then I have no idea. Like, God bless them or whatever. Hashem bless them. I don't know. Buddha bless
But
them.
they're never. But exactly. If that's what you want to live, that's fine. But then you follow them on Instagram, and 4 months later, their kids are getting taken away, or they're on Instagram Live screaming at their husband, or having some kind of bipolar breakdown. Like it doesn't seem like it's ever actually leading to fulfillment of any kind.
It's used like a Crowley thing. Do you know your will? Do you know what that is? Most people, I think, Scott, don't actually know what that is. I don't think they have your kind of like impulse to be like, oh, I want to actually like be creative, be an artist in the world in whatever medium that you choose, and like you want to like put art into the world. I think I think most people's like struggle maybe with I think a lot of like normies do struggle with like even having an identity. And so it is easier to join like a group or a congregation or to adopt like these kinds of social media identities. I think that's
Well,
something that you're talking about.
100%. Because without before Instagram and everything, like you didn't have to. It was cool to just have your job, have your family, like a sports team. Like that was fine. Now you're virtually forced to have a brand because you're just looking at Instagram and looking at all your friends seemingly succeeding at their brand. Like you can't just be a regular person anymore. Like you're our whole value. It's not even our value isn't even money anymore. It's social media likes and shares. So it's like the commodity has completely changed.
Yeah, we've moved from capitalism to social capitalism.
There you go. Social capitalism. Perfect.
I mean, again, that's even goes back to like writing and like how I think that there is a lot of work out there that is very deserving, but it's just not necessarily in the forefront.
I'm not a blueprint that you should listen to or follow by any means, but the thing that does save me is like my novel Play the Devil, right? I like everybody wants to write a novel in their life. Every single person I meet is like, I want to write a novel. It's like, it's my goal. I like I knew that this was probably going to be my one chance because a novel takes a lot of time and you have to pay rent and you have to get a job and do everything. So the hours of dedication to writing 250 really good pages is really hard. And if you don't get it done by the time you're like 26 or 27, it's virtually impossible. So my advice would be, man, to write that. You have to have a great piece of work to start with. Like, and I did that for hours and hours and hours, and did have a book that I'm still years later like, this is a good novel. I think I'll go for the rest of my life and be like, I wrote a good novel. And nobody knew who I was when I finished that novel. So I was like, okay, now that the novel's done, now I can spend years pounding this book down everybody's throat and marching it to Hollywood because I'm not just going to write another novel without any readers or money or film behind it. Like I did that part, and now I can spend the rest of my life trying to get it in front of you. And that I think I'm okay with my career because of that. Like I didn't half-ass it and then try to write another book and then another book. Like if this is the only novel I ever write in my entire life, I don't want that because all I ever wanted to do was write novels. But I could die feeling like I didn't blow it, you know. So write your novel, be good at it, and then spend years ramming it down people's throats. Is my advice.
Yeah, go get it. Be a hustler. That's true Americana, I think.
Well, for me, it was always like, and we grew up in that. So I'm 40. Like I grew up in Entourage.
I'm close. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm 3 years younger. So
All right. So I mean, everything in my life was Entourage, Lil Wayne,
Yes.
all the rappers,
Yes.
all the punk
Yes.
rock.
I love that you said Lil
Yeah.
Wayne. I love that.
Hell yeah.
People are so
like,
scared to say hip hop. All the right wing people on Twitter, they're like, "Oh, we can't listen to like black people music."
That's retarded. If
I
I
agree.
didn't have,
I agree.
yeah, if I didn't have like I love. I mean, 99% of what I listen to is punk rock, but I consider Lil Wayne like a punk rocker in the Wu-Tang Clan.
He is.
Punk
Wu-Tang
rockers,
is
yeah.
for sure. Wu-Tang
Hell
is
yeah.
for sure.
And I wouldn't have gotten this hustle like without that, because I was just like, nobody's gonna help you, nobody's gonna be there for you. You have to make this great product and carry it to the finish line. And I mean, I watched Lil Wayne do that when I was in college, man. Every single day, that guy dropped a banger for like 3 years. I don't know.
I remember
Yeah.
watching 106 in Park right after school, and it would always be like a Lil Wayne video pulling up in that like purple, that black purple like Rolls or Bentley. I forgot which one. The one that they made for that a while and they discontinued it, but everybody drove it for like a quick minute.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he was like he did it. Like he,
Yeah, and
Vessel.
it's that's all it is. Because like this is now I've been on Twitter since like I don't even know 2010 maybe. Like this is like the third kind of like evolution I've seen of like all of a sudden it's all new people. All the people that I used to follow and interact with are gone. Now it's all new people, all starting their online magazines, all publishing each other. This will probably go on for 2 or 3 years, but writing's hard and real life happens. So then they'll all kind of a couple, 2 or 3 of them will stay, the rest of them will disappear, and then it'll be a new crop. And it's really just like, if you're going to be into this, like you're going to have to realize at 20 years old for the rest of your life that it's just like, it's never, unless your parents are rich or your uncle's an agent, like it's a marathon. And if you're not going to follow it all the way through, don't do it because it's too much work. I've been really hurt and let down and disappointed by like so many people in this thing. People, even like the movie thing, like what this was like the second time this has happened. And like they promised me so much. Like it was all gonna happen. They're flying me out, I'm staying at their houses, they're giving me stipends, they're cooking me dinner, like, and then for it to not happen again, it's just like it's so I don't know. I really don't care what like I used to get really nervous reading poems in front of people because like that's like the cringiest thing you could do. Now I really don't care. Like I go up there and I say what I have to say, and I'm not nervous anymore. And I point at people and I yell my lines like right at their face because I don't care anymore. Like I feel like I've been made fun of and judged and not paid attention to for years, and now people are paying attention sort of again. And I don't know. I feel like I've just been like burnt and been through it that I don't give a fuck. Like I'm gonna keep writing the best thing I could possibly write. I hope you buy it and you read it and you like it and you share it with your friends. But if not, I mean, I still gotta do it anyway. There's nothing else to do.
There's an idea in Buddhism, it's called Margapala. It means that the path, so like the daily things you do, but it also necessitates like you producing a product, meaning like results in your own practice. But it can also mean that that is the fruit in and of itself. It's like, are you productive? Are you generative? I identify with that just in a metaphysical way, if not in a actual literary or art production way.
Well, I felt like I learned a lot on Brad's podcast too, but I also feel like I learned a lot on this podcast. So I like the most boring thing in the world to me is talking about like my own writing and stuff. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. I felt like we didn't touch on that enough. I was like, fuck.
No, I was trying to like steer it away from that too.
Okay,
It's
okay.
fun.
No,
Yeah.
that's great. That's great. I should have leaned in. Next time if there's a next time, I'll lean into that.
Yeah, but anyway, Scott Laudati at Scott Laudati on every social media. I have a novel, Play the Devil. I have a book of poems coming out called Rainbow Road, June 25th. And if you're near New Jersey, come to the release party. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And definitely go to that release party if you're available there. I do have some New Jersey people, so let's see.
I'll send them over.
I will. Thank you so much, Scott, and have a great afternoon and a great day.
All right, thanks a lot, man. I'll talk to you soon.